Commissioner Cullen.
He just came up.
All right.
Don't worry.
Quite the beard you got there, Mr. Harmon.
All the pretty people have
Yeah.
beards. So.
Mine's more gray than yours. So.
I don't know. I tried to tell Miss Hayes I had some blonde coming through, and she just laughed at me.
Did I sit in the wrong spot?
No, that did.
Did you pass, Mr. Basden?
He was just in there.
Mm-hmm.
I did not.
So the public, right? So.
Give him a couple more minutes. You say that in case. Hey, Reggie, can you go see what
Maybe lost this building.
Did y'all have a good Thanksgiving, Ben?
It was good. We stayed right here. All three kids came home for the first time since Christmas. Nice to
Get everybody
get
together.
everybody together.
That's awesome.
My youngest sister, Liz, were you on?
Not bad, huh?
She and her family. What year did you graduate high school?
04. What's the last name?
She was a little dark, but she graduated in 95, so.
Well ahead of me.
Yeah. Anyway, just family,
Family.
but it's good. Everybody's still speaking, so that's good.
Impressive.
All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. We're going to call this board meeting for the Brunswick Housing Authority to order. The time is now 6:04. The date is November the 27th, 2023. We're going to ask everyone to stand for the invocation.
Abba Father, we thank you tonight for another opportunity to come together on the behalf of this great Brunswick Housing Authority. Lord, we thank you for the commissioners, the leadership, the staff, our residents, this community. I pray that we accomplish what we need to accomplish today with the spirit of love, healing, and unity, and that we will receive the resources, the revenues, and have the results that we get, where we will be able to bless this community and our residents. We thank you tonight. In your name I pray. Amen.
Amen. All right. Approval of the agenda. Any additions to the agenda or deletions at this point? There's something that, make sure. I can't remember it right now, having a senior moment, y'all forgive me. If there's nothing else, commissioners, I entertain a motion.
I don't see an update for the for a better Glen when we did the community service thing.
Yes. Very good. We'll add that under Mr. Williams' reports as the third item there. So when you make a motion, please add that as G3. There's something else.
I move to approve the agenda as amended with the discussion of a Better Glen as item G3.
Second.
The agenda's been properly motioned with the necessary amendment. All in favor, raise your right hand. It passes. So we're going to start with new business. Commissioner Hayes, President Council, in a report.
We have an event scheduled for December the 10th. We partnered with Youth Violence. It's going to be a seminar held in Hopkins Homes. We have 4 speakers coming out. The Chief of Police, the Brunswick City Commissioner Felicia Harris, Coach Sean Walker from Brunswick High. It's either going to be the fire chief or the fire inspector, possibly the mayor and a mortician. And they're just going to be speaking on how important it is to come together as a community and stop the violence. We have a meeting on Thursday at 3 o'clock. Anybody who wants the details to chime in on Zoom, get that information from me, and we'll be discussing final details as far as food, drinks. Anybody have any door prizes or anything like that laying around, just let us know. We in it to get the people out. And then we wanted to meet with the finance department to go over our budget, and we'll be presenting that the second Wednesday of December that morning. So do you have a specific time or date sometime between now and then that we can come and sit down with you?
Yeah, just, can we email?
You said, can we email?
Yeah, back and forth, just figure out a time. I mean, I don't know if you want to do it this week or, I don't know what's on my calendar, that's why.
Gotcha.
But, I mean, Wednesday of this week I know works fine, if you want.
Wednesday, what time works for you?
Anything, anytime, whatever's.
Okay.
I work from 7:30 to 4, so.
Okay. I get out of class about noon, so I'll get back to you on a specific time when I talk
Yeah.
to the rest of the board.
Yeah, that's
So
fine.
we'll be happy to sit down with you, and thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And then y'all will present that.
The second Wednesday of December.
Wonderful.
And thank y'all for bearing with us. I know I've been saying we're gonna have it, but it's hard to kind of get the ladies all together at one time, and we have to vote on it before we even present it. So I appreciate the time for that. And then the only other thing I wanted to talk about was we added it to the agenda, so I'll just wait for that.
Okay. Any other questions, commissioners, Ms. Hayes, or what the tenants council is doing?
I know we can do it, but if they present a budget kind of mid-year, is that gonna mess up our budget if we approve it?
No, because when I did the budget for this fiscal year, I put an overall number in for the resident council.
Which was in excess of the 8,200 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Look,
But if this is by AMP, so this is AMP 2's, right, resident, so it would be limited to what was in the budget for that AMP. But it is more than what the calculated amount would be.
and that would be the amount we would want to stay under without throwing other things out of whack.
Right.
Because we're always on budget with everything.
Yeah, that's why we kind of wanted to meet with her before we even presented to see, where we stand and make sure everything lines up first.
Well, I would say one more thing, not to complicate it even more, but since the budgets are going to be revised, our overall housing authority budget will be revised sometime in the near future. So if there was something that caused you to want money over and above what that was, if that could possibly be added into it, if at some point, because the budgets will be revised, just something to keep in mind. But
Okay.
Very good.
Okay, and I have to apologize too, because I was supposed to introduce our new executive director. So I know he's been around over the last few weeks, meeting with staff and actually working. But I have the honor of presenting to everyone, introducing to some Christopher Baisden as our new executive director, and I'll give him a few minutes if he wants to say anything right now. I mean, I know he's gathered probably a fire hose of information over the last couple weeks. So,
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Evening.
It is a pleasure to be here. I am looking forward to the task. I have been given an overwhelming amount of information, and I've been given an unlimited amount of areas to start with. And I believe that I'll be able to allow things to kind of present themselves so that I'll have an understanding, so that there's no quick or rush decisions on doing something rush when it should be taken the appropriate amount of time. And I see great potential. I see a lot of areas that we can all grow and improve in, and that's what I look forward to, being able to partner with everyone, because this is not a executive director's task, it is the agency's task, and we do more together than we do individually, and that I look forward to. Thank you.
all right. Thank you, sir. We'll move to item B, Golden Isles Inducement Resolution. Vitus, is that on? They're online. They're on Zoom.
Hi, yeah. Can you guys hear me, see me?
Yes.
Hi, yeah. So my name is Evan Laws. I'm a development manager here at Vitus. Presenting to you guys on the Glen Isle re-inducement for this year. So just kind of a brief overview of kind of who we are and then the project itself. But Vitus is a Seattle-based national affordable housing developer. We focus on the acquisition and rehabilitation of Section 8 properties. Only existing buildings that we're looking to acquire and then renovate through the 4% tax credit program in combination with issuance of tax-exempt bonds. And so the Glen Isle project specifically, fits that bill for us. This site is a 65-unit apartment community comprised of 13 townhome-style apartment buildings and a separate community building in Brunswick. It's made up of 41 two-bedrooms, 24 three-bedrooms, all units covered by an existing project-based Section 8 HAP contract. At closing, we plan to extend that HAP contract to preserve the affordability of the site. The project was originally constructed in 1980, and the last major rehab activity was in 2008 when it received a full renovation funded by low-income housing tax credits by the previous ownership. Our proposed rehabilitation includes improvements to the general site, such as the installation of new mailboxes, updated playgrounds, middle of the parking lots with restripe, building exterior upgrades, roof replacement on all buildings, replacement of the gutters downspouts, replacement of all windows, and then we plan to do a full overhaul of the unit interiors, put in upgraded plumbing fixtures, replacement lighting packages with LED, unit flooring replacements with LVT vinyl plank, new appliances, cabinets, kind of the whole shebang there, and then improve safety at the site with some additional exterior lighting within the common areas, some new exterior doors and locks, alarm system, and a new 24-hour recording camera system across the property. And we expect that the improvements will significantly enhance energy efficiency at the site, along with improve the operating efficiency of the property as a whole, as well as the existing residents' quality of life. Along with this renovation, we have to submit a application package to the Department of Community Affairs in Georgia in connection with the 4% low-income housing tax credits. We did not receive a award this last round, and in order to be eligible to make another application, we do have to have a existing bond inducement. This project was induced in September of last year with a not to exceed amount of $12 million to be issued by the Brunswick Housing Authority. We are requesting, in connection with the project and this reapplication to the Department of Community Affairs, that the existing inducement be extended through the end of next year, 2024, in the same amount, so that we can make another application to the Georgia Department of Community Affairs in order to preserve this as quality affordable housing within the community. And with that, I'll open it up to any questions that the authority might have.
Commissioners, any questions? I mean, I have some, but. Let me start by asking, what is an inducement?
So the inducement is the actual kind of just resolution, basically to kick off the process of issuing the bonds. It doesn't necessarily guarantee that the bonds will be issued, but it kind of provides support from the issuing authority that the bonds are available, that the Brunswick Housing Authority can see the allocation of those bonds as a feasible resource for the community. So it's just I think I don't know if the existing resolution has been circulated, but it's just a governing document that would state that the bonds are available and could be used for this resource.
So you all have the authority to issue bonds. Other folks in town can also issue bonds for, the development authority sometimes issues bonds to try and attract businesses to town. And so I guess you could also go to the development authority and ask them to issue the bonds. But on things that have been housing related, the housing authority's been the source to issue bonds.
Could you explain exactly what a bond is for some folk who may not know?
Sure, it's just a form of debt, similar to a mortgage, but this debt is on the property, and this is limited to the revenue just off of the property. So the rents from this property fund the bonds. There's no obligation on the part of the housing authority. So if the bonds don't work, they can't come to the housing authority and seek to be paid the $12 million. They can't go to the city of Brunswick. They can't go to the county. They can't go to the state. It's what's called a revenue bond. So it's limited. The repayment of the debt is limited to the project itself, to the apartments at Glen Isles. And so sometimes borrowers choose conventional financing, and sometimes based on interest rates and cost of issuance, they choose bonds as a different type of debt. So the hospital, for example, when they redid the hospital, they issued bonds, and sometimes investors buy them because if they're tax-free, they may want to have those in their portfolio, and state bonds also not subject to state income tax for investors. But the sole role of the, I think all you're asking of the Brunswick Housing Authority is to serve as the issuer of the bonds. And then typically the issuer is paid a fee for so Ms. Dyer could speak, so we get revenue off of the bond, so it could be a potential revenue source for you, for the housing authority as the issuer of the bonds, without any risk of having to pay those bonds, because you're helping facilitate the financing for the developer. And I think it works if you think this is a project that helps improve affordable housing in our community and makes it better for residents in our community. I think that falls within your within your mission. If somebody was saying, can you issue bonds to help us build a automobile factory, that probably doesn't, that probably belongs at the development authority.
The revenue, what are we looking at? I mean, have we done this before? Obviously, we
Yeah.
partnered with them over the last how many years?
Yeah, just a few years ago, maybe 3 or 4 years ago we did, and if I remember right, maybe 10 grand at the most per year.
So in this part that says Vitus at the top, it talks about Glen Pines 1 and 2, and so that was done with about $8.5 million worth of tax exempt bonds. And so that was Glen Pines. This is Glen Isles would be the is the next phase that they're trying to rehabilitate, renovate using the tax credits and bonds to structure the.
It's the same property, but it would be under a new name.
It's actually a different property.
No, yeah. So Glen Pines was a separate project that was done. I believe it was completed back in in August of 2018. So it's close, but similar. Exact same structure of how the bonds would be issued. It's a very similar project, just in terms of overall design and rehab scope, as well as resident population. So it's kind of a copy and paste of that project at this new site.
Commissioner, I think this might be the old Glen Place Apartments. He's talking about.
No, that's the new land.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, where are these apartments at?
The current project or the past project that was done with the authority?
The current project that you're asking.
Glen Isle is located at 2106 K Street in Brunswick.
What was the former names?
This project is Glen Isle. It has been Glen Isle. Glen Isle Apartments for quite some time. We don't actually change the names. The last one was also known as Glen Pines. That project was located at 78 Glen Marsh Drive.
Say that again.
That's
78 Glen Marsh
That's Glen
Drive.
Pines.
Yep, that's Glen Pines.
That's Glen Pines.
Yeah, I'm very familiar with that project. My mother used to live there,
Golden.
and my uncle lives there now.
Glen Isle Townhomes?
Right.
Yes, Glen Isle Townhouse.
Case 2106 Case Street.
Is he talking about the old Perry Park house?
No. Okay. Yeah.
Oh.
No.
That's gotta be, because that's not a
Yeah.
picture of it, that's just something else.
Yeah, there's nothing else.
It
Okay.
says downtown Brunswick, K Street, 2106 K Street.
Is it across the street? Is there a park across the street from it?
Yeah, Miller Park is very close to it.
Miller.
They talking
Edo
about
Miller.
Miller. They talking about Edo Miller. So again, is it Perry Place? They got Perry Place.
Nah, that's
King Street.
I mean, it has to be Perry Park.
Yeah.
What? Yeah, that's Abbott Andrews right there.
Yeah, that's Perry Place. The office. Yeah, that's Perry. The old Perry Park.
Yeah.
Is it close to a school?
Yeah, the old Perry Park
So
apartment.
it is Perry Park.
Yeah. It's formerly known as Perry Park Apartments. Yeah. All right. That's what we know they ask.
Okay, now we know.
So
what
you
we're
only
talking
doing
about.
those because there are other apartments that's in the past been associated with that, with those units. Is that just the office address you're giving us?
65
That might be
units,
just, yeah, that might just be the office. It's 65 total units
Right.
at the property.
Okay. Pier Park.
They just
Okay.
got redone not too long ago.
I know, they were on the market for $2 million some time ago.
Get away
And,
with it.
and they are project-based vouchers. I'm assuming you're still keeping them as project, based vouchers?
Correct, yeah, we will be, well, we've already assumed the affordability contract at the site, and then we'll plan to renew it for an additional 20 years. I think it already goes through 2040 or something like that.
but the rehabilitation number works out to about $65,000 per unit, is that right?
Correct.
Okay.
So is the tenant rent in reflect of the apartment being remodeled? Like, does the rent go up? How does that work?
The rent will go up. We'll plan to submit a markup to market contract with HUD, but the way that the Section 8 contract works is that residents will only ever pay 30% of their income. So unless their income changes, their rent won't change, even if it is increased at the site.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing? That's a good thing.
So they're paying the same amount to live in it
Same
after
amount to live in it.
$65,000 renovation per unit?
Correct.
Or paying the same thing before $65,000 renovation?
Yeah.
And everybody that lives there now would have the option to stay?
Yes, correct. Yeah, we don't, just as a kind of a company-wide policy, we don't promote permanent relocation of residents. So we would plan to have everybody return to their current unit upon the completion of renovation.
What do you do, what's the plan for them being relocated while the rehab is going on?
So the Department of Community Affairs, the Georgia Tax Credit Agency, is very, very focused on having residents out of units during the renovations. We completed some renovations with the residents in place still, depends on the contractor, but these residents, we expect that the scope of work should just take 10 business days to complete, so about 14 days in total calendar days. During that time, the residents would be moved to a local extended stay with all of their belongings packed and stored by professional movers. The cost of that relocation would be paid for by the development budget and incurred, all costs incurred by ownership. So the residents wouldn't have to pay for, anything out of pocket. And then we typically hold, several rounds of meetings with residents to get their input just on their relocation concerns, on school coordination with, school buses, basically all the administrative issues that come along with moving from your current place of residence and build those into the plan as well. So we try to work with everybody to make sure that we can mitigate as much of the hardship as possible from the unit renovations.
How many total units is the development?
65.
And none of those will be market rate? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
All of those will be affordable units.
Cool. The inducement is not actually asking us to be the issuer of the bonds, correct?
It is, yes. But
there's
it's,
a lot.
It's asking us to certify that we could issue the bonds.
Correct. Yes.
Not that you are obligated.
Not that.
You're not obligated to take those bonds.
Yes, it's kind of just a preliminary placeholder document to, identify that the bonds could be issued by the authority.
Sure. What is your intention as we sit here today? Would it be to have us issue the bonds, or do you have other financing?
No, I mean, we would look to the authority to issue. The structure of this transaction is we would have the authority issue the bonds, and then we would cash collateralize those bonds with another loan, likely an FHA insured loan, which would turn the bonds into a short-term issuance that's publicly offered. And those would be repaid likely within 12 to 24 months after construction is complete. So that's kind of rather than being a long-term bond issuance, it would be paid back really quickly.
Fair enough. When does this turn into a procurement issue? We don't have bonds outstanding right now. We're being asked to certify. At some point, if we're offering up bonds, I would assume that we would have to open that up.
So I think we are. I mean, I think we have been open.
We are.
Yeah, I mean, we've responded when folks have asked us to issue bonds.
Okay.
In the past.
We don't have an affirmative obligation to issue a RFP or some other procurement.
I don't think we're buying anything. We're not obtaining anything. We're serving in a capacity as an issuer. So
You don't think we have to issue?
I don't think we have to issue an RFP
for projects that would require bonds.
I don't think so.
Cool. I'll trust that.
Yeah.
Abby, does that sound right?
Yes, that does sound right. And just to provide some additional kind of clarification, the bonds themselves that are being offered here, it's a state allocation of bonds that is then being kind of filtered down to the local jurisdiction level. And so these bonds are allocated each year to the state. And then we, as a developer, go into the local jurisdictions to identify a qualified issuer of the bonds, which is what the Brunswick Housing Authority would be acting as capacity in. And then we would submit to the Georgia Department of Community Affairs for, said final allocation and everything. So it's
that
kind of a lot of confusion for
we have
what
a
is.
pretty limited capacity as the issuer.
as the issuer.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
What's your timeline on needing the inducement?
So the current inducement expires as of the 31st of this year. So we would just be looking for a extension prior to the end of the year, so that we can make sure that everything is still within compliance for the extension.
Is this a real estate matter we can take up in executive session?
Sure. Let's look and real estate. So we want to talk about it.
I just have one more question while we still have him on the line. And forgive me if it's already been answered and it went over my head. But I get what the residents are going to get in return. I get what the Brunswick Housing Authority will get in return. What will Vitus get? Like, what's the...
So they have a contract to buy this property, and so the property will be improved, right? I mean, so it'll... That's what you'll end up with, is you will have been paid a development fee.
Correct.
So typically that's the what Vitus or the developer and the tax credit deal gets is part of the cost is a development fee. And so they're developers who act in this sphere of tax credits, and they do the work, they put the projects together, and then they get paid a development fee. Is that?
Yeah, that's correct. So we're stipulated the developer fee by the tax credit authority of the state, and then we, would continue to manage and operate the project. We're an owner developer, so we're not just going to be, developing the deal and then leaving town. We are still the owner and manager of the Glen Pines project that we did back in 2018, and we'll be in that deal for another, 10 to 12 years. This project, once it is completed, we'll be the owner of it for at least 11 to 15 years, as stipulated by the tax credit program. And then we take that developer fee and use it to continue performing these renovations across the country.
So what would be estimation of what income we would get? I mean, because as a partner with you in this, couldn't we get a percentage of the developer's fee as well?
So we're not, I don't think we're serving as you could develop your own tax credit deal, but
No, I hear what you're saying, but I'm asking the question. I don't know if the developer fee is, we get a cut of that, but I would like to know what is the potential for our income. I mean, we
Of course.
Ms. Dyer said we're getting 10,000 a month from the other one.
It was we got basically per year, and if I remember right, it was somewhere between 5 and 10, but probably closer to 10.
10 per year.
But literally, all we do is sign something to issue the
I
bonds.
understand. I understand, but I want to make sure that the agency is getting what it should get out of these deals, because we are issuing them. We have some kind of responsibility as the issuer, and I mean, for me, I don't know if $10,000 a month, a year is enough for that. But anyway, do you have an answer to that? Do you know what we will be getting annually then?
I think it would be, if I'm just going to base it off of the Glen Pines project, since the terms of the fee for the issuer are determined by the issuer. But if I base it off that project, it was about $8,500. I think was the actual allocation fee annually. It's about 0.1% of the bond issue. So in this case, $12 million, 0.1% would be $12,000 per year. And then in addition, we typically see issuers have a one-time initial issuance fee, and I don't know what that would be. Like I said, that would be kind of up to the authority themselves to determine how that fee would be structured.
You know what we got? Did we get a one-time fee with the other Glen Pines? You know what that was?
I'm not seeing one in here. Just a lot of council fees. But yeah, it looks like $8,500 on the annual fee. I don't see a one-time issuance fee from the Glen Pines project.
And if we look at the issuances, $12 million, typically the developer's fee is around 8%. So the developer's fee is what?
The developer fee that we're currently underwriting for this project is about $1.7 million.
Okay. Just so we have all our information when we're discussing this.
Of course.
And then you do make monthly profit as well. You have a reserve fund, and there's some profit that is made monthly beyond the developer's fee. That's part of putting this together, but there is a
from the operation of the project.
right.
Correct. Yeah, we typically the way that we underwrite our deals are so that they can, cover the debt that will be outstanding on the project, and then, just give us a little bit of room just in case expenses go, up unforeseen ways, kind of like we've seen over the last couple years here, with insurance and real estate taxes going a little crazy all over the place. But correct, there would be the potential for additional income from operations.
Okay. Any other questions, commissioners? Mr. Basin? All right. So we'll discuss this in executive session, and then we'll make a decision.
Okay, great. Well, let me know if you guys have any additional questions or need any other information from us, and just wanted to say thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, bye now.
I worked with one of my nonprofits with a consultant from DCA. They had to train us on the tax credit process and how to put together these deals. It was a little bit different than this one, but I do know there's money that they're making beyond just the developer's fee. So, but anyway, we can talk about that. Any other concerns around this? Right. Financial update, Ms. Dyer.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. What months did we just have? October was a rather routine month, so I don't have anything to bring to your attention unless you have any questions. There is one thing I did want to point out, though, because the point was raised this month. Under tenant accounts receivable on this front page, the one with the different colors on it, in that tenant accounts receivable is, and I don't know the amount, I don't know the extent of it, and Honey's not here. Perhaps she knows.
Where is that at?
It's probably, it's like one, two, three.
It's
like
the third blue line down.
Yes. Third blue highlighted line down.
Right,
And if you
okay.
scroll over, it's by AMP, and then below that, it's locally owned. But for public housing, included in that tenant accounts receivable are, if any, tenants who are on the Jobs Plus grant program who are currently having the working, I don't know exactly how the grant works, but the purpose of the grant is to have part of their rent paid by the grant, and then they pay their portion. Well, the part that is supposed to be paid by the housing authority, that no money has been drawn down, and there's no link between the grant and the software yet. So their balances are still reflected in this tenant accounts receivable balance. I mean, nobody's being charged late fees or anything on it like that, but that money somehow has to get from the grant to the individual tenants' accounts to, reflect a payment on their behalf. But it hasn't happened yet, and I don't have the number because I don't know who the people are on the grant, because it's a totally separate software system. So I don't know how much of that. I just wanted to call it to your attention because it's there, and it's something that needs to be addressed, but I can't give you a concrete number right now.
This is our very expensive software that we paid a lot of money because it is for Jobs Plus grant.
It is
Yes.
for the Jobs Plus grant, and I think it works with Elite. Wasn't it supposed to? But I don't know if Elite knows that.
It's more of a data import type
Mhm.
of thing. And when we initially set up the Jobs Plus software at TAG with Elite, it pulled in resident data to use on TAG's website, but it's a one-way kind of thing.
So it doesn't go
it's-
back.
It's not TAG, as far as I'm aware. TAG doesn't really have any kind of accounting functionality. It's more for tracking resident information.
Case management, and what it gave, Elite gave was demographics. That's it. but as far as the county, that's a whole different collection process on the software. We just have to figure it out how we can correlate the two.
Bradley, when you were talking to D'Amber about it the other day, did she say anything about how many people it might be, or?
I did not hear any specific numbers for that. I just heard a general, our Jobs Plus people need that information put into the system. How can we do that? And I'm still waiting on her to give me the customer request form that I sent her that we can take to Emphasis and get a quote on that.
Okay.
So we got to get some, Bradley, some additional software for, what do we need to link it up financially, I guess?
So when I spoke with Emphasis, what I could gather is they don't have any kind of contingent in place for Jobs Plus users. That's something that we would have to build out a custom request for, send that to them, they would evaluate it and bring us back a quote for something that would work. Either a module that they have to create or a module that they already have, they just have to deploy on our environment. Which of those two it is, I'm not entirely sure. Like I said, I'm still waiting to get that quote, that request built and sent to them, and wait on the quote. At this time, I don't know what's possible and what isn't. But all the information that I need should be on the form that I had sent to D'Amber. I'm just waiting to get it back.
Gotcha.
All right.
All right. Commissioners, any other questions around this part?
This is a problem that's going to get more complex and bigger the longer it doesn't get resolved.
Right.
Yeah,
Right now, we could probably go in and manually figure it out. For
Right. I mean,
3
right now
months.
there are people who are on the program who have rent charges on their accounts with no money being receipted because that money is in the grant.
Right.
And we have no way of getting it in there at this moment. On their tenant accounts.
Right.
Yeah, because I think the last report we got from Honey was 100.
That's not necessarily the number of people who are getting the rent portion of it. It's
I
much
got you.
smaller than that.
Yeah, I think that was closer to like 35 or 50.
But still, it's probably
Yeah.
smaller than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because some people just use it for certain things, and some people. But that carrot is to get a job. They help me pay my difference if I increase my wages.
Okay.
So that number is much smaller. Should be smaller than 30.
All right.
Well, if the number is that small, then instead of waiting, I mean, I think you still should continue with that process of filling out so that they can determine how best to do it. But with a number of less than 30, it seems manually just to go ahead and bring these arrears back up to par. It would be easier to just input the information in. But then I'm confused as the grant within itself wouldn't explain how the money is supposed to be pulled out so that it can be deployed.
Well, the actual drawdown, I mean, that's the same. I mean, that's just me logging into HUD and drawing down funds. And then, and then chances are they're going to want some backup for that, and I'll provide that. But once it gets in our bank,
Okay.
we have to be able to receipt rent to the individual tenants' accounts
So that would just
from
be the manual
this jobs,
process.
yeah, to make it, to clearly show that it's a payment coming from Jobs Plus, and that's what we're missing.
In the software.
Yeah.
Making it show it in the software.
Mhm.
Okay.
Questions, commissioners?
I'm kind of like Clemens. I'm stuck on the software.
I mean,
We paid a
like
lot of
90
money
grand
for it.
for
We
it.
paid a lot of money for that software.
Yeah, and I don't know if we really got all the information we were supposed to get
No.
to make that decision. So,
I think an update on that at the December work session would be.
Well, I
Yeah.
think
Great.
the name of that software kind of says what they do. It's like it's an acronym, and it's like tracking at a glance or something. So it's just
It's a case management software, which we didn't have.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right.
I will say, just as an aside, Elite does have functionality for grants management, but as far as I understood it, the reason that we didn't look at that is because it was a lot more nebulous compared to TAG for the cost. I would have to get with Honey to figure out if we actually received quotes on that from Emphasis or not. She knows way more about software than I do. Her and Jasmine both. So they would be able to tell you more, but neither of them are here right now, so I'm just telling you what I know.
And we anticipate Honey will be here at the work session. Great. I'm not being critical of anyone or the software. I find the humor in it somehow.
You have to.
All right, Ms. Dyer.
Okay. Yeah, if anybody has any other questions about anything else, I can answer them. Like I said, it's just a rather routine month. And I did talk to Mr. Baisden today about the need to update the budgets once he's here and up and running.
It looks like our Section 8 waitlist has gone down substantially. Is that? Am I crazy?
It has gone down, and
It was up close to over
it was. They were
1,000.
almost the same.
Yeah. That's positive.
Yeah, what? Yeah,
Probably a bunch of vouchers issued.
what caused that?
We had a lot of non-response from our people who applied in July, didn't respond, didn't submit required documents. Some people were
Okay.
eliminated because of old debts that they did not pay off before July. So that is the bulk. We have issued a few vouchers, not that many. Even with us opening and receiving 1,200 applications, they're still not returning their documentation.
Gotcha.
Does that, I think it was last month that it was up close to 1,200. Do we clear out the non-compliant ones every year, every quarter, or just as we get to it?
Daily, we
Okay.
withdraw people.
Okay.
Any questions on these individual statements? Any clarification?
What's the enrollment and success, Ms. Dyer? I know you probably cannot answer for her. She's not here anymore. But was the enrollment for the insurance, was that a success for all the staff?
Was there what? I'm sorry.
The open enrollment
The
on
open
the
enrollment, was that successful?
Yes. I think so. I don't know of any issues. So.
Okay.
and that's closed now. Closed last week. Is that right? Great.
And the only investments we have is the CDs.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only thing allowed.
No,
Okay.
that's just just as a quick overview. We've always used CDs for Georgia HAP and locally owned excess funds. We are allowed to do other things. HUD has a very long list of things that you're, allowed to invest in. The bulk of the money that is in the Georgia HAP checking account, which is about $6 million or so, that used to be in a CD. Last year, when Mr. Baker was here, he and Mr. Kitts decided that when there was a particular CD, when it matured, we're going to roll this into the checking account because we're going to change our investment, everything, and we're going to put out an RFP for investments, et cetera, et cetera. So I put the money at their request, transferred the money when the CD matured, put it in the checking account, and luckily they had someone in mind that they wanted to do these investments with. But luckily when I gave Baker all of the information that went with all of the investment requirements from HUD and everything, and sent that out with the RFP to the firm. They did not respond. So that money, and I've mentioned it several times since, but that money's been sitting there only because he told me to move it there. I moved it there. It has sat there ever since. We could do something else with it, even, you know, before if we ever changed our investment policy to do something different than CD, we could at least move it back into a CD if we choose. But I'm just waiting on someone to give me the word.
Would we issue an RFP for that, or?
No, that was what else I was gonna mention. Our banking contract is about, I think it's in year 3 of 5, don't quote me. But our banking and investments are sort of rolled into the same agreement. So if we did that, we'd have to issue, you know, a new RFP for banking and then a separate one for investments if we wanted to do something different. You know, if we wanted to not go with our own, you know, bank for investing purposes.
But if we wanted to put some portion of the HAP funds into a CD, we would not.
We can just do that.
We can just do
Yes.
that.
Mm-hmm.
That seems like a good idea. Do we typically do that on 12-month CDs or 6 months?
Usually 12 months, and then normally what I will do, back in the days when we were accumulating money in Georgia HAP, you know, so during, you know, like toward the end of the fiscal year, I would say, or maybe closer to when a CD would be maturing. You know, I'd say, well, we're growing money in the checking account because we don't really spend a lot of this money. So I would say, okay, here I'm going to take another $500,000 and add it to the CD, maybe, you know, and we would do it that way, so as not to leave too much in the checking account. Certainly not, you know, what's in there now.
Yeah, can we get you and Mr. Basin to get together and maybe provide us with some options? Because I know we had this issue similar on the Community Action Authority. We didn't have quite as much, you know, just kind of sitting in a checking account without a budget. But and we found out that our existing bank was not really working in our best interest. And so we did end up doing an RFP, and that's been very lucrative for us. And I know with the county, when I've served on the pension committee, I mean, there's some folk that are very good at this. And so we need to see if we can link up with them. But if you all can, if commissioners, if you all are okay with it, to give us some options on this.
And I think part of that was what Crime South, when they came last month and they were discussing their other options. That was part of it. You know, what they were saying, you know, you could make more money with us even if you just, you know, did these.
Right, so
And
even if we
used
did that
Right.
basic with them.
And we used to do that. We used to have the CDRs. We had all of our CDs in those, and they just had them split up. They were similar to what they were talking about last month, and they just had them all in smaller increments of CDs, so that the banks that had those CDs they were in the CDRs network, and they didn't have to pledge security, so we got a higher interest rate. So.
Right. Yeah, but anyway, we can look at that as we move forward. Commissioners, any other questions around this? Investments? Or anything with the financial report? We're just receiving a report, we don't have to vote on anything.
Usually make a motion to accept or approve the financial report.
Oh, okay. I should know that by now.
That's right.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the financial update.
It's been properly motioned and seconded that we accept the financial update as presented. All in favor, raise your right hand. It's unanimous. All right. Thank you, Mrs. Dyer, on that. And then D, approved fee accountant. So,
Yeah, that's, I think y'all have the proposal.
let me see that. That's it.
That's
Malcolm
Malcolm
Johnson.
Johnson.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, what, they were the only one who responded, to the solicitations. So what we ended up having to do was to, write a justification for our reasoning of going with a non-competitive proposal. So basically, in our procurement policy, there is a section that says, let's see, where is it on here? There are several ways that you can use, several instances that you can use a non-competitive proposal. And if you meet one or more of them, you can do that. And the one that we qualify under would be after a solicitation of a number of sources, competition is determined inadequate. I did talk with our auditor, and she was not really surprised that we only got one, because of our unique circumstance. Plus also, she said, especially right now in Georgia, I don't know what's going on, but she said it wasn't unusual because I guess fee accounting firms are not accepting new clients right now. They have enough clients. They have got plenty of business, and they're just not. So this is not unheard of for her, even in the state of Georgia. So basically what I did is I just wrote a quick, justification of why we're doing what we're doing. And the reasons behind it, including the fact that we have several openings, besides me. And so that just something that we will keep. We don't have to do anything with this. We just have to keep a copy of it. So I've got, I signed it, and I'll get you to sign it, and we'll hang on to it. And I would make the recommendation that we hire Malcolm Johnson to come in, hopefully quickly, and start as our fee accounting firm, at least. And the contract would be, and the RFP specified that it would be like for a 1-year contract with 2-year renewal, 2 1-year renewals after that, if you chose to.
And the rough estimate of,
And I did a really rough.
yeah, that is
Yeah.
on a per annum basis.
Yeah, and I tried. I have it flagged. So I just tried to come up with the number of hours. They're going to spend a lot of hours in the beginning. So I thought on the high end, under consultation and assistance, you see I put 800 hours in there. I have no idea. But I figured if I put in a high number of hours for everything, and I made the estimate as high as possible, then you could, compare it to a salary with, fringes and stuff and see. And to me, it looked reasonable. So
Comparable.
because it won't be, I don't think it will be.
If it's that high in the first year, it shouldn't be that high.
Exactly.
The next year.
Yeah.
What do you know off the top of your head what we paid for fee accounting
Well,
the previous year?
I did go back and look. I don't have all that stuff with me. In the past, we've just used them on a really limited basis, like to come in and review year end and submit to HUD, and that spent like maybe $15,000-$16,000. So, but that's all they're doing. This is basically taking
A lot
my
of
place.
what you're doing.
Yeah.
Understood.
And I did look back because before I worked here, they did have a full-time fee accountant. And so I looked back, but that's going back to 2009, 8, 7. And that was 90, 100,000, somewhere in that range. But
Plus,
they
do we have an outside fee accountant?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
Okay.
that's what that was. But they did not. That didn't include. They put the packet together for the board meetings and stuff, but they didn't make any presentations or anything like that.
Okay.
So.
Cool. Got it.
Any other questions? And we've kind of been talking about this. Dara brought this when she first said she was going to retire. So we know this was coming, and she's been able to continue to work with us, and then to set this up, I think was great. So what do we need to approve this?
Mm-hmm.
Do we need to approve the justification for the non-competitive as well? We will. We'll just go ahead and do that.
Yeah, okay. You can do that.
And just for the record, how bad of a position would we be in if we did not have a fee accountant as of
January
January
12th. Yes.
March 12th?
Whatever.
We can get a couple more months out of you.
I mean, yeah, certain things, yeah.
It'd be bad.
Mm-hmm.
When's their start date?
Don't know. They don't know that they've been officially selected yet. So
once we approve them,
Then they start immediately, or they start?
well, Ms. Dyer is here till January, so she'll help. I guess onboard them.
But, I mean, hopefully it will be really easy, because I know a lot of the firms, I have a lot of like spreadsheets and stuff set up for all the way I do this and that. Well, they probably have all that stuff already, so they can just take our stuff, feed it into their stuff, because they don't have to come in here and use all of my information when they've probably just got it set up the same way for all their clients to make it more efficient for them. So
This has nothing to do with the approval of the fee accounting, but they're also our auditor currently, or
as of for fiscal year 23,
right?
And then
they're done.
So yeah, that's going to have to be something that's put out for bid.
Would they be able to serve as the auditor and the fee accountant?
Mm-mm.
We would have to have a separate firm.
It looks better that we have a firm when we do get a new auditor.
I don't think we're going to get an auditor without a fee accountant.
All right, be too much work. Yeah. I'll entertain a motion on the fee accountant and justification.
Move to approve Malcolm Johnson as our fee accountant pursuant to the response and non-competitive response to our RFP.
Second.
Been motion and properly second that we approve Malcolm Johnson to be our fee accountant as presented. All in favor, raise your right hand. Unanimous. Thank you, Ms. Dyer, on that one. And item E, the Christmas bonus.
That just defaulted to me again.
Commissioners?
I thought we had approved to do what was suggested at the last meeting, but I guess not, because they're still here.
Well, I think we had come to a consensus on it, but we didn't vote on it, I think. Is everybody familiar with that?
Yeah, I think we talked about during the executive session.
Yeah, that it was gonna be just flat across the board, that amount.
As long as you've been here 6 months or more, what's the thing?
Okay. See, I don't know what was discussed.
Oh,
so.
you weren't here,
Yeah.
were you?
Do we need to vote on that?
Mm-hmm. So it was, and I'm glad you remember that part, because I didn't remember what the cutoff was. You have to be here at least 6 months.
Right. You had to, if you've been here 6 months or more, everyone across the board gets the flat rate of, what was it? Was it six?
678, I think. Something like that. It was 22,000 divided by the employees number. And that's I just did 35, I think. 628 is what I came up on.
I think that's
But So do we need to approve the procedure since,
I think the amount and then direct staff out, I mean, because in the past it's been done differently, right? It was tied to,
Yeah, I mean, and that was discussed too, but okay, so,
yes, so we need to probably round it up, maybe 650 or something.
Let's not say we did, because like 50 per
Huh?
I'll
higher,
do it.
and not the same. We agreed that we can the same as they've been doing it, like the same amount. Just include the extra that weren't included.
Yeah, I'm just saying that because of it's like some cents in there, and we're talking about what, $12.
Do we want to resolve this in executive session and have a motion when we reopen?
we can.
Can I say
And maybe have
something
Ms.
first?
Dyer speak in executive session
Can
too if you want,
Or I can,
or she can speak now.
Go ahead.
okay. So, in the past, you know, as you know, we discussed, in the past it's been done a certain way. It's been, you know, I don't remember about the 6-month thing. I don't know, because it was always done through payroll, so I don't really know. But if you've been here, I think everybody who's here right now just about has been here 6 months anyway. It was done, it was a percent of salary, 1.5% of your salary, you know, down. And I know that it was discussed to give everybody the same and then base it on, you know, roughly the same amount that was paid last year would work out to be whatever per person this year, to give everybody the same. So my thing is, and I know it's not my decision, but I'm just going to tell you what I think anyway. So my thing is, it's like the end of November now, and I know there are people here who count on that for their Christmas shopping, and have gotten it every year the same way for I don't know how many years. So my point is, right now, if it was my decision, I would just keep it the same and do it the exact same way that we have in the past. And then next year have, when the new HR director comes in, let this HR director come up with a scheme of, you know, how to do a Christmas bonus if you want a Christmas bonus or whatever, and then let the new HR person take that on and move forward. That would just be mine. I just wanted to get that off my chest. But if we did it that way, it would be just a little over $24,000 instead of, it's actually 18 something now, because 3 people off this list that Jamie had from last month, 3 people are gone. So, you know, have left since then. That's all.
I would say let's have a brief discussion in executive session and make a motion when we return.
All right. We'll do that. We'll defer it to executive session right now. All right. Anything else around the Christmas bonus?
Is there any way in the future maybe there could be like a policy implemented so that we just know how it's done and it just stays consistent?
Yes. You better believe we're gonna have a consistent. We're not gonna go through this
Every year.
Yeah.
I think our new executive director is going to be great with policies.
We need some policies.
Yeah, I think we're gonna get enough policies, new policies. Okay, on the new business F, this Zephyr designation in national housing compliance.
So those are the 2 entities in which you all participate in Georgia HAP. And so I've prepared, if you all want to appoint Mr. Baisden to represent Brunswick Housing Authority with Zephyr and with National Housing Compliance. And so he would be on the boards of those 2 entities because you participate in Georgia HAP. And so that's what that's for, is historically the executive director had done that, and then I had forgotten, but Ms. Dyer reminded me that when Mr. Baker came, he did not want to be on the board, so he had Ms. Howes doing it. But I think it makes sense for you all to have Mr. Baisden as your representative with those 2 entities.
Mr. Basin, are you agreeable to that?
Yes.
So we need a motion to appoint
I
him.
think they'd like, both of them would like a motion to appoint Mr. Christopher Basden as your designee for Zephyr and National Housing Compliance.
One,
And then-
one motion will do.
One motion, I think, will do.
All right. I move to make Mr. Basden the designee for Zephyr and the National Housing Compliance Association.
Second?
It's been motioned and properly second to appoint Mr. Basden to be our designee for Zephyr and the National Housing Compliance. All in favor, raise your right hand. Right, that is unanimous. You are appointed. Item G, we're going into, thank you, Ms. Dyer. We're going into facility management, Mr. Williams.
Known everybody. Again, night,
Hello.
morning, evening. Hours, for things. Okay, so we've been talking about it for a while, the rules over at Wishman Oaks. Earlier in, what was that, Miss? This is November, right? November, early on in November, after our last meeting, I got with Ms. Dyer to reach back out to Royal American and just ask them to have the firms, vendors that originally quoted their solicitation from I think it was 2 years ago, to just provide an updated quote. And also to forward that solicitation to a local roofing company here, so that we can get an idea about what it was gonna cost today to have these roofs replaced. We did not receive a reply from them. So, and I know it, and I only did that because I know at the last meeting it was decided that we would go with a non-competitive proposal and having it replaced, but just to try to keep it competitive and not take up so much time, I asked them to do that, and they didn't. But like I said, there's enough documentation that I have to justify and establish a price to have the work done there, and deem the price given to us by Platinum Roofing to be reasonable. Their total price to replace all the roofs on all 5 buildings over there comes out to right at $245,000, which is about the average for all 3 of the companies that Royal American received quotes from. So what I've given to you was my justification on that action, as well as Platinum Roofing's quote. I called Mr. Chisholm this morning and had him send me over an updated quote today to reflect any changes in the price, since he originally gave me that quote back in, it was October when he originally gave it to me. Price didn't change, didn't go up, didn't go down, it was still the same.
Good.
So that didn't change, but we did reach back out to Royal American to try to have the other 3 companies quote again, and they didn't. But all the prices around the same. So, with the authority's approval, I guess it would be appropriate to go ahead and enter into contract with Platinum to have the roofs repaired in Wishman Oaks. But I would like, by all means, everybody look over. They have told me that they can't, well, in their quote it says they can't start essentially until January 2nd anyway. So it's not even something that we have to have a decision on today. They can't start until January 2nd. We'll wait until the next meeting.
Are they
Everybody can look
repaired,
over
or
the numbers.
are they new roofs?
This is replacement.
Yeah, okay.
This is replacement. The only other thing that I didn't put in here that I have to tell you about is that whenever we, if we enter into this contract, it's decided that we're going to enter into this contract, and we do, and we would need to leave probably between $5,000 to $7,000 additional dollars for any fascia, the sub-fascia, sub-roof.
Contingency.
Yes, contingencies in there for those. Those are the types of things you don't find out until you take the shingles off and you start tearing it down.
That'll be addressed in change order or in contingency.
It'll be addressing contingencies.
Okay.
Yeah, you leave it in there, and they'll provide me before they do it. They'll call and say, "Hey, look, this is what we ran into." And then they're gonna give me the pictures and everything, and it's already listed in there what it's gonna cost us per instance. So I'll be able to know exactly how much we're gonna spend on that when that comes up.
What are the two quotes we're looking at? They're slightly
Okay.
different.
4 buildings. There's 5 buildings total.
Okay, one is different than the
One
other.
is different
Got
than
it.
the other 4.
Got it. Which one? The
500 build. If you look at the top of it, see
You-
I wrote
right.
4 buildings, this size total, right at the top.
I got you. All
And
right.
then on the other page, I got 1 building. 1 building of this size. Yeah, that 500 building over there is small.
I have a question about replacing the roof will stop the water from coming in, so further mold won't happen, but what is the plan to take care of the mold?
Unfortunately, it's not my lane.
Not your lane?
No.
Not right now. I
Not
think
yet.
I'll listen to Whisper Note.
Yeah, I think once and Ben is gonna talk a little bit more about the management, but I think once we stop that, then we'll look at the other stuff.
Yeah, I'm just speaking in terms of a maintenance standpoint. Would it be beneficial to put brand new roofs on something that we know is molded through?
100%, yes ma'am, unless you plan on tearing down the building. It would be the most reasonable thing to do. You would need to address the roof before you ever try to address the mold in the units. Or you would be fixing the inside of the unit, but the cause of the problem would still be there.
Okay.
And the insides are fixable.
Repairable, 100%.
So we previously directed that we do this under our emergency procurement. So where do we sit right now? I guess we'll need to approve the actual contract.
Yes, sir.
So we don't need an approval today.
Well, last question. Are you satisfied with the procurement process with this?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, so you don't, I think you have a consensus to move forward with the contract.
Yes, sir.
That's what's needed now.
Yes, sir. It's like I said, it's they can't start. They wouldn't be able to start until January 2nd. And I'm just getting everybody this information. So even if it's back at the next work session, if y'all want to visit again, have time to look it over, have any questions for me, feel free to ask me or anything you need to ask Platinum, and I'll be sure to get them answered.
So, just forecasting out, I think our December meeting that is scheduled falls on Christmas Day.
Yeah, I think we're gonna need to talk about that. That's Jay.
Yeah, I saw.
Well, we aren't there yet. So if we could have a look at that contract at the work session, that'd be. If
I'm giving it to you. That's it right there.
That's just the proposal, right?
That's it. The contract will be the same thing.
Plus the contingency and.
Plus, yes, sir, that part. Well, actually, it's in there as well. That's already in there. Right there.
Let me see.
I didn't see that.
I didn't see that.
It's already there. It's on page 3. In your first one, it's on page 3. That's where your potential start date and completion date, everything like that is there too.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just like I said, you want to leave in the budget for this. We want the base price, what it's going to cost for us to do the rules.
I don't
But
see
additionally, you're going to want to leave 5 to 7,000.
per building.
Not per building.
Overall.
Total.
You're looking at about 260,000.
Yeah. You want to leave between 5. You want to budget 5 to 7,000.
Okay.
Additional.
Ben, have you looked at it?
I don't think
Yeah.
Maybe it was asked before and I forgot, but when we get the new management company or decide what direction we're going through with that, this is our problem that we have to fix, no reimbursement intended.
This is our problem.
Yeah, we own the building, so it's ours anyway.
She's checking.
Yeah. So I guess, yeah, as Commissioner Cullen mentioned, let's have the contract, if it's this.
I'll look this over before the
Yeah, and we can
work session.
improve it on in the work session.
Yeah, if you prefer that I write a separate contract, I can do that as well. But it's gonna pretty much be the same. The scope of work, the statement of work, the warranty is gonna be the same, the insurance is gonna be the same, and I'll establish the price in total. Yeah, it's gonna pretty much be the same.
What, I guess this also go back to what Cullen mentioned was this says 4 buildings, but you say it's 5 buildings?
Yeah, one is
Your fifth,
one
there's,
for
there's
one.
another one for the 5th building.
All right, I got you.
It's a different price.
And it should reduce insurance premiums.
And it definitely will.
Going
There's some
forward. Yeah.
Next year.
justification down at the
Next
bottom.
year. 2020, oh no, 2025. Cause it was due, it's already been paid. 2024.
Is that something we can take up with them after
No, I
it's
already
done?
did,
Try.
and she said, can't change the premium paid, but I will try to work with them to get the deductibles lowered. Once, since you paid this, cause they raised the deductibles. But she says she can't do anything about the premiums. Especially since this roof thing has been going on for,
Your deductibles went up, what, 50%, right?
oh,
And your premiums went up, I did the math on it, it's like
43.
47%.
Yeah, it was a lot.
mhm.
It was like 47%.
Yeah, we gotta get this done.
Well, yeah, we'll maybe look at the insurance thing once it's all done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy.
Somebody might can help
So,
us.
but if they get in there real quick and get this
That's-
done,
That's it.
the
I'll
premium has been paid, it's done.
I'll draw a contract. I'll draw a contract.
I think we just want to be ready to roll on January 2nd, come hell or high water,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We won't want to be getting that taken care
Yeah.
of. One way or the other.
Yeah, so you and Ben get together on that and
Okay.
just have it ready for us.
All
Any
right,
other
yeah.
questions on this, the roof? If not, Mercer, Tim,
I don't.
Are there change orders for the sidewalk that,
Already approved.
okay.
can you just give a brief summary, because I know you provided all of that for me.
I have not received the latest field report for Mercer. Now, last week, all the way up until Wednesday, I have been back and me, Mr. Kent, James Lynn, the contractor on that project. We have been back and forth because the specifications for the project stated that they would provide us with, that the contractor would provide us with a locking system for those buildings that directly integrated and interchanged with our current system. And at submittal, they were supposed to have a 6-pin PDQ interchangeable core to go in those doors over there. About 3 weeks ago, they sent me those cores because it was always going to be on the authority to have the cores keyed to our systems because it's they're high security end user keys. You can't just go to a locksmith and get anything for doors or keys or anything like that around here. We would have to do that. So it was always up to us. But they gave me the cores. And I looked at them and said, well, these not going to work. They're 7 pins. They thought that they would work. Their hardware provider told them that they would work as well. I said, okay, all right, fine. So I took them to Collins where we get them keyed at. And Miss Melissa called me back. She said, well, you know these not going to work with your system. I said, I know. They're 7 pins, right? She said, yeah. So I called the contractor back, got with the architect, and after a bunch of back and forth, they got their hardware supplier, they called Collins, and she explained to them why they wouldn't work. So now, Mr. Kent is seeking to have us reimbursed for the cost of those cores, because the cores that we use, the contractor can't order them. They are a higher security core than the ones that they got. They can't order them. We would have always had to order them. So I've ordered them. Well, I haven't ordered them. I had enough of them laying around to be able to do those doors, but now I have to order some for replacements. And I finally got in touch with our hardware supplier because we can only get them from one place. That, where we buy them from, has to be authorized in that end user system to sell them to us. So now I'm going to get them, and Mr. Kent is looking at getting us reimbursed for that end of it. And that's the biggest blunder over that, and that's what's going to be the barrier to getting those doors locked.
So we'll just be looking for a deductive change order on that?
Definitely.
Cool.
Definitely. Once the cost comes in for it, and it's really let me not say it's not that much. Let me not say it's not that much. Let me say it's 2,800, 24 cores and keys.
All right. Okay. Any questions?
But it's still scheduled to be done about mid-December. Just be done. We're just been waiting on
So
cores
ready
from
for people to move back in?
ready for occupancy. Me and Miss Smith, we were speaking with Miss Brooke, her portfolio specialist last week, and she was asking about those units, and I was telling her units was pretty close to the end, and we'll probably end up offering them out. I think we decided to offer them out somewhere. It's the second week in December. And we're gonna send our offer letters on the second week in December, and hope to have them leased by Christmas.
How many units is that?
6. And that's all I had for that.
Okay. Any other-
Be a better Glenn. Is that's under?
But we're finished with Mercer Town? All right. A better Glenn?
So in November we entered into partnership with a Better Glen. They sent, I don't know the total number of volunteers that they ended up sending. Mr. Jackson may actually know that number.
Like 130.
Mm-hmm.
130 volunteers came out and helped us, and through that they worked in a total of 38 units. Of those 38, we ended up getting about 25 units that I could send maintenance in and be able to finish those units in 4 or 5 hours tops. Of those 28 units, we have at least, I want to say 10. I think there's 10. You gotta forgive me for not getting the number because I wasn't expecting to be asked the number today. But I think it's 10. I want to say we did about 6 last week, about 4 the week before, and then I think it was 2 today.
So are we pretty much averaging 1 unit a day? Are we to that point where we're averaging getting 1 unit done per day?
Not a day.
You ain't gonna average 1 unit a day. You won't average 1 unit a day.
Can I just
because
ask-
here's why. In order to do that, you know what I had to do? Not do maintenance.
It's not been getting done sometimes. Are you talking about on new work orders? That's what you're saying? You're not able to do that because of your focus on it?
Yeah,
And
if I take them and have them doing vacancy turnovers, then I don't have them doing maintenance. But if I tell you we're gonna do maintenance, I don't have to do maintenance.
We're just gonna have to sacrifice.
On what side?
Get the
Oh.
units ready for new tenants. Cause I mean, it's
Is everybody?
so like a 6 to 10
is
day
every
wait
ten-
on
if-
maintenance.
I don't think every tenant in public housing is gonna agree with you. We have to find a balance between the two. Is how I look at it.
Okay. Well, the fact that they're getting done, I'm happy to hear that. Because
That's
a lot, like
right.
like you said, some of the work that when I noticed when we would go in, there would be a worksheet of stuff that needed to be done, and as people were coming to volunteer, they were checking it off. But if we ever were to do this again, I would suggest we just be a little bit more organized, meaning if something needs to be replaced, we have to have the tools to replace it, because there was a lot of volunteers that were just standing around. We ended up picking up trash because we didn't have one thing to do the other.
And that was the question that I posed to Mr. Bobby. I said, Mr. Bobby, who's gonna provide the tools? If the housing authority goes out and purchases tools for 170 people to come out and work on that property, what are they gonna do with them when they leave?
I thought they were having skilled people.
Yeah, we had skilled
Well,
people.
skilled people did the main stuff, like
Big
if
stuff.
there were cabinet replacements or stuff like that, they were doing that. But if you're asking for light fixtures to be put up or bulbs to be put in, and everybody in the apartment is 5 feet and under, how we gonna get that done without a ladder?
How do we
So it was little
provide
stuff like
ladders to
that.
170 people?
No, I ain't saying everybody had to have a ladder. What I was saying was, if you know there's something on the list in, say, the 10 units that you have in this particular area of this property, have at least 2 ladders there, and everybody knows, okay, if you need a ladder, it's at this unit. Or like, we would have to have some kind of communication system to know where the tools or what we needed was. We were like waiting for screwdrivers to screw in little screws and stuff like that. So.
And here's the other thing. Like I was telling Reggie when I talked to him about it, I said, Reggie, some of these tasks on here are not for volunteers to do. Because the volunteers are not used to working on the housing authority's property. Even to change those light bulbs, you're gonna break fixtures. We don't know how many gonna break. Because the housing authority went through a modernization, what it was, 2012, 13, 14. They put in a style of light bulb that costs 4 or 5 times more than a regular light bulb right now.
Mm-hmm.
So to even replace those light bulbs, you have to take another part out of that fixture, and it's gonna break. It's not something for volunteers to do. It was never something that I planned for volunteers to be able to do. We are happy to have whatever help we got. Some of those tasks were never for volunteers, but I need the list anyway, so that when my guys go back in, they know what I'm expecting them to do.
Mm-hmm.
Some of those tasks were not for volunteers to do. I didn't meet the volunteers to explain to them how to do these things.
So you weren't here when the lady from A Better Glen came before us?
I was, but she wasn't a volunteer.
True.
Yeah, they were just trying to get us to agree to it. And,
Next time we gotta work out some better details, because we were just all over the place.
Well,
We didn't know what we was doing.
Again, this is what my nonprofit does, and what we do is you have to have a house captain.
Yeah, that.
And but then you got to make sure that they have everything that they need, and it has to be somewhere. And so you need somebody to run to get, if they are missing something, you need to have somebody to go and get what they need, whether it's material or a tool or whatever, or even the know-how for something. And it's a Herculean task to try to do that.
What I ended up with was 130 volunteers, 3 representatives from the housing authority that work at the housing authority every single day. It's only 3 of us.
Mm-hmm.
I was in Hopkins Homes. Hunt was over here in Glen Building. Nate was in McIntyre Court.
41 units.
But it's only 3 of us.
But better planning, having more people.
Yeah.
We had actually 3 days.
I thought they said they had 20 skilled volunteers.
Yeah, 24 skilled.
They probably did, and they replaced the countertops. They replaced countertops in about 5. I think I had 7 total countertops that needed to be replaced. They had guys and they did at least 5 of them. They did 5 of them. Not at least 5. They did 5. Then I had Buddy and Arlen come in on that Monday and Tuesday and replace the remaining 2.
Because from my understanding, aren't they planning something on the
MLK weekend.
MLK weekend that they'd like to come back in?
Yeah, they would like to come back in.
Was it a positive event?
It was. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it was. Like I said, I'm thankful for whatever help we got out of it. And I never imagined that people would be able to finish those units. You've been doing it for a long time, man. You.
And I wasn't trying to be disrespectful or shun the maintenance department. All I'm saying is, if we plan on doing it in the future, we got to be more organized, because as a commissioner, the volunteers that were out there, once they realized who I was, they started coming and bringing their complaints and concerns to me. And so trying to let them know, we appreciate you guys' help and we want to do this again in the future. So I will speak up and let your voices be heard in a sense. I'll let them know that if, there's certain jobs on a paper that, that we didn't know that you guys didn't want us to do it or expect us to do it, we just saw it there. And so if we're in an apartment and it needs certain things, like to have those things available, or like you proposed having a runner, like it's just, I know it's a trial and error because it was the first time. So how can we make it better is the only thing that I'm getting at for the next time.
So, because we run 3 warehouses, and the inventory for working in one warehouse is not supposed to go into another area. Inventory for McIntyre Court is supposed to come from this warehouse. Inventory for Glenville is supposed to come from this warehouse. Inventory for Mercer, Alabama is supposed to come from a different warehouse. So, to have runners to those 3 warehouses, I would have to have housing authority employees stationed at those warehouses and telling people, you go here to find this, you go here to find it. It's not that.
But we don't know the system.
I understand that, but I do. I did not expect for people to complete all of those tasks. I don't know how many light fixes gonna break. Sometimes you can get the ball bases out, sometimes you can't.
Yeah.
If they break,
because I did see some that were broken. I was like, how are they broken and they're new? So I get it.
No, not the glass.
Not the glass? We're
Not
talking
the glass.
about the light.
The light bulb
ones?
itself. The small ones. The small ones. They the funny light bulbs. You can't go in the store and really buy them unless you go you get them at Central, but they're not regular light bulbs. And we don't really buy those anymore because they cost too much.
I was about to say, who made that decision?
Yeah. We did that with
That was an EPC that was done in 2009 or 8, somewhere in that.
Put them in there and they tell.
Okay.
All right.
How many maintenance positions are vacant right now? Don't we have a couple?
12.
Oh, I'm hitting you with all the hard questions.
I don't think so. You gotta ask you. I don't think any are. I budgeted for. I don't think any are.
No.
We have 6 and we have 6.
Okay.
But we need.
Yeah.
But tell what the labor.
But we all know
The budget needs to be increased because there needs to be more.
Yeah, we need to have. We definitely
Need 10, I think.
And then we could have maintenance
and I can have
turnover.
UTO. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we gotta get to that.
Like people say, no, we can do it.
Right.
I mean, even if it's on a temporary basis.
Yeah, that's
Even if it's on a temporary basis. 3, 4
Just until
months.
we get
Let me
caught
look
up.
at it.
Especially with the vacant unit.
3, 4 months.
Especially if we take over the management of
Yeah, I was about to say, how are we gonna? We're looking to expand, not so definitely need to get up to 10.
I don't know. That's what Miss Brooke told me last week, that we didn't have enough as well. But I don't know. I've said that for a long time, but
now we're listening to you.
Yeah. Anything else, y'all?
Nah.
If not,
Get that in the budget.
Mr. Hartman.
So last week we had a Teams call with the DCA folks to talk about Brunswick Housing serving as going to stop serving as the manager at the end of the year, 12/31. Something else, they asked how many different facilities we wanted to manage, we said, this is it. You know, we're not looking to get in the management game, but we are responsible in our community for what this looks like to the residents and the folks in our community, and we want it to be done right. And so I think there's a good chance that they would approve Brunswick Housing to serve as manager instead of having to go outside and have a separate manager. We're working on an RFP for a compliance consultant and for a manager. We told them we'd post both of those and work along parallel paths, so that if they came back to us and said, can't do what we think you can do, then we'd be ready to hopefully look for another manager, but hopefully we'll serve as the manager. But I thought DCA was easier to work with on that call than what I was anticipating.
What does a compliance manager look like?
Compliance consultant, making sure that the forms that get filed, quarterly reports, monthly reports, what the documenting of those.
Largely administrative.
Largely administrative. Again, because this was this started out as a tax credit deal going back to, like with Vitus, there was a developer involved. This was a tax, so there's a compliance component that we still have, even though
And this would not jeopardize our ability to re-syndicate if we so choose. Sweet.
So I think we're moving in the right direction with DCA. We'll publish the RFP to see if we can get a compliance consultant to respond. Working with some organizations DCA suggested with a list of people who could serve as compliance consultants. So hopefully that'll transition at the start of the year.
Great.
All right.
Did you think anything different on the call?
Oh, no, not on the call. It's just there's a huge other thing, which is the software issue, which, I mean, Bradley's aware. So, you know, Whispering Oaks, when they leave, all of their information is on their software that they use. So we have to either buy that software, if we're going to use that, or find a way to get that information into Elite, because, you know,
They don't own that data. We own.
No, and they've offered. I mean, they said we'll export. What's the software program they use?
I can't remember the name of it right now, but I
Yeah,
have a link to it.
but it sounds like it's the software all the DCA compliance tax credit folks use.
It's not an uncommon software.
Yeah, I think it's. I mean, they've said tell us where to export the data and we'll shoot it there. It's just we may end up having to acquire this. I don't know whether the compliance consultant would have that software or whether we end up with that software, but that. Yeah, I think the differences would be we'd have yet another batch of software running different numbers because this is a tax credit property as opposed to public housing or other software. It's not the Jobs Plus software. And it's staff capacity. I mean, I think that's the other issue we have if we want to take on that role. It's we have the staff capacity to take that on, but I think the good news is you all will control what happens out there to a better extent than what you've been able to do in the past.
That's the good news.
That is good news, especially for people who live over there.
Yes. January 2nd, there's no compliance consultant or manager.
They said they get it. I mean,
We get a little
Royal
raise.
Americans leaving us. I don't think we're upset about that, but they understand where we are, and they said we want to work with you to make it successful.
Cool. All right.
All right. Any other questions? All right. Ms. Douglas on the updated payment standards.
Good evening.
Hello.
Everyone has a copy of the calculated 2024 payment standards. I sent a request to PUD to increase the payment standard for 2024, 120% from last year's fair market rate. Yearly HUD calculates a fair market rate for each of house, a bedroom size, from efficiency to 4 bedroom. And from that, if they approve what they have for us, the 120% of increase. So you have in front of you the payment standards that's with the calculated. So fair market for 2024 for an efficiency is $957. You add 120% to that, and that'll give you what I offer as our 2024 efficiency payment standard of $1148. And it goes the exact same way all the way down. If you need a copy of 2024's fair market rates, I have it in front of me. I can make you copies just if you want to do the comparison and verify the numbers for each. HUD required that I provide them with the justification for why we needed the 120% to continue the 120% interest, 120% increase. We're already operating at that. So the increase was requested because we have less than 80% of our offered voucher holders housing up. The majority of them are boarding out because we are unable to meet the requested rent by landlords, or we don't at all have a unit for them to move into to accommodate their household size. So now I just need approval to start using those for January.
So these are for the Section 8 program only.
Owners, yes.
And you already got it approved by HUD
Yes.
for this?
They are backlogged, so she said it'll take a couple of weeks before we actually get the printed out approval, but from our portfolio manager, she's let me know that they have approved it.
Okay. Commissioners, let me ask this. So they get this allowance, what, the utility allowance as well? How does that work?
So we calculate in for them a specific utility amount based on a 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom in the city or the county, based on the utility standards that was approved for 2024, which is calculated by UA Pro, which is another company that we use to calculate those. So between $110 and $140 per month is what we calculate for the use of utilities for an efficiency. So from $1148, you would either subtract the $110, depending on whether or not your tenant is working, or $140. Wait, I think I said that back. $110 if they are working, $140 if they're not. We take more to make sure that they can afford the unit. So their shopping range would be $1,000, $1,008, as opposed to $1148.
For the apartment?
Looking at the efficiency.
Okay. Commissioners, any questions, concerns? Mr. Basin, any questions you have? All right, you need approval from us.
To start using.
Okay. Entertain a motion to adopt these 2024 payment standards.
I make a motion to adopt the 2024 payment standards.
Second.
It's been motioned and properly second to adopt the 2024 payment standards as presented. All in favor, raise your right hand. That's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
you. The December 25th, I know y'all are so gung-ho about this. Y'all want to really meet. I would not be here.
I wouldn't be here either.
Do we want to just cancel this? Unless we would do it on the 18th.
When's the
I
work
think
session?
the work session should cover everything.
Me
That's
too.
my thought.
My thought would be cancel it, and if we need to have a meeting, we can have a special called.
All right. So do we need a motion for that?
Yes, sir.
All right.
I move that we cancel the Brunswick Housing Authority meeting scheduled for Christmas night.
Second.
I want to see Santa Claus.
It's been motioned and properly seconded that we cancel the December 25th meeting. All in favor, raise your right hand. That's unanimous. Need a motion to go into executive session for
Move to
personnel and legal
And real estate.
and real estate.
That's the motion.
There, second?
Second.
It's been motioned that we go into executive session for real estate, legal, and personnel. All in favor, raise your right hand.